I can't wait for the World Cup to start. I'm so ready for this World Cup to begin. I've been itching for so many months. It begins in less than a month, about a month, a little less than a month. The World Cup begins, and I'm so excited. You already know I'm rooting for my Black African teams of Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana. And the key for African teams to succeed this World Cup is simple. It's very simple. All the African teams need is the right mentality. They need confidence. One of the Senegalese players came out and said that African players, African teams, they need to have the same mentality going into the World Cup as the European players and the South American players. You know, Koulibaly of Senegal, he said African players need to have a high confidence, a high self-esteem going into the World Cup. You know, because all the European teams in the World Cup, all the South American teams in the World Cup, even the Asian teams going to the World Cup, you know, they all have the mentality of that they can win the World Cup. Everyone has the mentality of that they can have the possibility of winning the World Cup, except for the African teams. You know, the African teams, their goal is, hey, I can possibly make it to the round of 16. You know, I could possibly make it to the quarterfinals. That's not the goal of the European teams. The European players, they go into the World Cup thinking, hey, I want to win the World Cup. My goal is to win the World Cup. That's what the European teams are thinking. But the African teams, man, they always have this fucking defeatist, low self-esteem mentality that they're just okay of making it to the round of 16 or to the quarterfinals. No, African teams, their goal should be to win the World Cup. You know, because if you go into the World Cup with low confidence, that's not going to do you anything. You know, you got to have the mentality that you're the best in the world. Going into the World Cup, the African teams, Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana, they have to have the mentality that they can win the World Cup, and they have to have the mentality that it's a possibility. They have to play with the utmost level of confidence, you know, and and if you don't play with confidence, it's going to show. You know, these European teams, even these European teams who've never won the World Cup before, they're still going into the World Cup with the mentality that, hey, I can possibly win the whole thing. That's the same mentality the African teams need. Why not? Even the Asian teams, they're not going into the World Cup with this goal that, hey, I'm fine with just making it to the second round of the World Cup. Hell no. Even teams like Japan and South Korea, their goal is to win the whole World Cup. If you're not going to the World Cup to win it, then what's the point? So African teams need to play with confidence. If Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana play with confidence, they're gonna do wonders this World Cup. I have no doubt about it because they have the talent. African teams have the talent. You know, Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana, those three teams, they have players who play in some of the best leagues in the world, in the Premier League, La Liga, the Bundesliga. Man, those are some of the best leagues in the world. So the African teams have the talent. They just need the confidence. They just need the right mentality. And if you don't play with the right mentality, with the utmost level of confidence, it's going to reflect on how you play. You're going to be playing all scary. You're going to be playing. Um, um, not with the most effort. You know, if you don't play with confidence, you're not going to put in the most effort. So at this level of football, you need to put in the most effort possible. That's why you need the highest level of confidence. Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana, they need to go into the World Cup with the mentality that they can win the whole damn thing. Man, it's like I'm hoping my African teams do well. Don't fail me. That's the only thing I'm worried about. The only thing I'm really worried because I know my African team. There's a whole lot of talented African players. Africa has the talent, but my only worry is if African teams of Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana go into the World Cup and they don't have play with confidence. They play all scary and timid and don't put in the effort that they need to, or you know, they go into the World Cup, don't play with confidence, and they give certain teams too much respect and let teams dominate them because they think these other European and South American teams are better than them. So they just let these teams dominate them. Nah, man. Play with 100% effort, 100% heart, and have the mentality that you can win the whole World Cup. And that should be your goal as the African team to win the whole World Cup, because that's everybody else's mentality. You know, Africans, soccer players need to ditch this fucking inferiority complex. Okay, no African nation has ever won the World Cup. That doesn't mean you have to play with an inferior mentality. No Asian team has ever won the World Cup, but I best believe me that Japan and South Korea, they go into the World Cup with the utmost level of confidence that they can win the whole fucking World Cup. So, man, the Senegalese players, Koulibaly, he said that Koulibaly, he's a defender for the Senegalese Teranga Lions, and he plays for the Premier League. I believe he might play for Chelsea. I might be wrong, but he said, man, Senegal's goal is to win the World Cup. He said Senegal really believes that they can win the World Cup, and man, Senegal really, to me, they're the best African team right now. They just won the African Cup of Nations. They have one of the best players in the world on their team, Sadio Mane. And I've seen them play in their two friendly matches recently, like last month, man. Senegal has some quality, man. They just need that confidence. And they said themselves, man, they have the confidence that they think they can win the whole World Cup. So my number one, the African team that I have the most confidence in to do well in the World Cup is Senegal, because they're the most talented African team and they have the mentality to win the whole fucking thing. Man, I'm hoping, man. If oh man, I don't want to say what I think is going to happen because I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it, but I think something very special is going to happen this World Cup. Man, these European soccer fans and South American soccer fans, oh man, a lot of them are arrogant. They're arrogant, you know. They automatically write off the African teams and the Asian teams, and they always think, oh, only a European team can win the World Cup, which is bullshit, man. Because that's what happened in the past. You know, there's an issue with you using history to predict who's going to win the World Cup because things change. Nothing ever just stays the same. Things do change. Um, Soccer, football is an evolving sport. You know, the days of European teams being so much better than everybody else is gone. Those days are over. You know, there's talented players, very skilled players from all across the world, from every continent. You know, so if you're a European soccer fan and you think all these European teams are just going to have an easy breeze in this World Cup, You're fucking wrong. You're wrong. Man, this is the first World Cup in history. I can just feel it. Something special is going to happen in this World Cup. This is the only time in World Cup history where we can really say that any country can win this motherfucking World Cup. Any country can win this World Cup. It's not only a European team that can win this World Cup. An African team could possibly win it. An Asian team could possibly win it. This World Cup is fair game for any team from any continent to win. Because in this age of soccer, all teams from around the world are pretty much equal. Soccer has advanced. There's good teams all across the world nowadays. You know, so a lot of people think Brazil is going to win, Germany is going to win, Argentina is going to win, um, Portugal is going to win because they're big name teams. They're European, they're South American, and those teams have historically been successful in the World Cup. I'm telling you, soccer has advanced to the age, to the level that anyone nowadays, any country from any continent nowadays can win this one. And you can see it even in the friendly matches. Some people think, okay, friendly matches don't matter. Well, friendly matches can show you some things of like, so friendly matches, you can't write off friendly matches 100%. You know, and a lot of these friendly matches, you saw Asian teams dominating South American teams. You never saw that in past generations, where Asian teams would beat and dominate South American teams. You've been seeing this shit in these friendly matches. No, a lot of these Asian teams have been turning up against these South American teams in these friendly matches. That's new. That hasn't really happened before in history. I'm telling y'all, man. Even the Asian teams are now playing at a very high level. I watched South Korea play against Cameroon. South Korea is the most technically skilled team that I've seen play this year yet. You know, I watch European teams play also. South Korea is more technically and tactically skilled than any European team I watched this year. And you cannot say that in the past generations. It used to be European teams were just more skilled, technically skilled than everybody else. Nah, I'm telling y'all, man. Even African teams, Senegal is very technically skilled. You know, in the past generations, you could say European teams historically have better defense than African teams. From what I see, these African teams, Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana, their defense is just as good, if not better, than the European teams I've been watching. A lot of these European teams have sloppy defense, you know, leave gaps in their defense. But these African defenses that I've seen this year are just as good, if not better, than these European defenses that I've been watching. So football has advanced in Africa. Football has advanced in Africa. African football is more technically and tactically inclined nowadays. You know, these African teams are not going to be pushovers. Usually, historically, in this some of the past World Cups, Africa's flaw is defense. They leave historically African teams' flaw is defense. You know, they leave too many gaps in their defense. But now African defenses are very compact and very well organized. You know, so that's this the advancement of soccer from Asia and Africa is going to change the dynamic, and they're going to be very competitive playing against these European teams. Do not be surprised. A lot of these big name European teams, do not be surprised, are not going to make it to the second round of the World Cup. A lot of these big name European teams that you think are so good, like Spain and Portugal, They're not going to make it to the second round of the World Cup. I can guarantee it. I watched Spain play. Spain, a lot of these European teams are falling off. A lot of these European teams are falling off, like Spain and Portugal. I've seen those two teams play. They're not at the very high level right now. So people are going to be surprised with the World Cup. I'm telling y'all, man, it's not going to be the result that you guys think it is. Something is telling me something special is going to happen in this World Cup. Now, I'm not going to tell you 100% what I think is going to happen because I'm not trying to jinx it. I'm trying to be humble. But it's going to be a country that you do not expect to win this World Cup that's going to win this World Cup. I guarantee it. But all right, you guys, peace.